Hi everyone, Michael here from Active Insight. Really pleased today to be talking to Lisa Forsyth from Max Associates. How are you today, Lisa?
I'm good, thanks, Mike. Although I think I'm in rainy England and you're in a much sunnier clime this morning.
Yeah, sunnier and hotter, but I've had to turn my fan off because of the background noise. So I'm starting to sweat. It's not from speaking to you, it's the excitement of what we're going to talk about. It's because I haven't got my fan on. We're going to just spend a couple of minutes talking about something which I think is really interesting and a little bit of context. There's in the last few weeks, Moving Community and Sport England have produced two really interesting reports on moving communities and Sport England social values studies. So there's a lot of data flying around at the moment. But what we're going to be talking about is the work that we've been doing with yourself and Max Associates over the last 4 years, and specifically the community surveys we've been doing with you.
Yeah.
We've worked out that we've got 7,000 responses over those 4 years. And to stress, these are not users, these are community surveys predominantly filled in by non-users of the physical facilities. And we decided that it was time to pull all this data together and look at some key insights and trends and then put that back to the sector. So Lisa, just to kick off, you've had a bit of time to look over the results. What are the two or three key findings that have come out from this study for you?
I think it's really interesting because one of the questions we do talk about is how physically active people are, and those rates actually are slightly lower than the national average. So I think it really
Mhm.
highlights the fact we are sort of attracting those people who are not necessarily physically active. But what we found really encouraging is over, what was it, 90% of those respondents were had a really positive attitude to being physically active. 80% find it really important, and the I guess the stat that provides the real encouragement in the sector is just under 90% want to be more physically active. So
Mm.
that tells that story of people are really getting the understanding that being physically active is good for us. We want to do more. We feel it's important for our physical and I guess mental health as well. And that for me is a great starting point.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when you take this sort of data and these insights to a local authority and start working with them, whether that be around putting together strategy or looking at their leisure centre and facility stock or their physical
Yeah.
activity strategies, is there any other work? What other work? I know there is. What other work do you have to do in terms of engagement, which is really essential?
Well, I think if we have to be really honest with ourselves, the original sort of community surveys where we tend to get anything between 300 and 700 responses is still just a snapshot, and we
Hmm.
have to be aware of some of the biases that come out of it. I don't know why, but females tend to be much better at responding to these surveys, and also older people as well. So I think we need to understand the context within which we get the data. But we see this as one stream and a starting point, really. We like to undertake a lot of stakeholder engagement,
Yeah.
and then following from the results that come through, either groups where we don't feel like we've attracted, or where there's some real sort of interesting data. We like to focus down and work with the authorities to do more detailed focus groups, and that might be with people with long-term conditions. It might be a specific geographic area. It might be an age group that we feel like we've missed. So I guess it's saying that this is a start to do some of that, to do some of the engagement, and also a real recognition that for those people where the barriers are absolutely there and physical activity isn't on their radar, you have to really get within the communities and trusted people within the communities to undertake that engagement. So I guess for us, it's a starting point to highlight key aspects to look further into when we speak with local authorities.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, what you said at the beginning there about people knowing the importance of being physically active and want to do more, and a lot of them have got the motivation, and yet still we've not shifted that dial
Yeah.
significantly. The answer has got to be not the starting point is not the people themselves, because the desire, motivation, engagement, awareness seems to be there. So it is around the place, isn't it?
Yeah,
And it's around
the
the community,
opportunities.
and
Yeah,
it's
the
the local
barriers.
authority that is ideally situated to make those changes in the environment, in the place to implement change.
Yeah, I think it is, but I've got a big but there. It depends on the local
Hmm.
authority in terms of tiers. Are they a district council?
Yeah.
Because, for example, one of the areas we talk about a lot is having physical activity as part of your day-to-day life. And if you can't cycle to school particularly well, that starts to become an issue. So I think what we try and do with this work is bring stakeholders in. And I can tell you now, local authorities in themselves will struggle to go, we can solve all of this. So what we
Yeah.
want to do is to use this evidence, bring stakeholders in and say, who else can we get around the table to start to influence some of the factors that will enable more people to be physically active?
Fantastic. Okay. Well, look, let's leave it there. I know we're going to do two more interviews and we're going to focus on perhaps two of the most interesting things. So, what are the two things we're going to talk about in interview two and interview three?
Well, these are the perennial questions that I think, even
Mm,
if you said anecdotally, why aren't people, or what are the barriers to being physically active? What we get time and time again is, I don't have the time and it's too
hmm.
expensive. So time and cost. And it's how do
Yeah,
we get underneath those responses that come back? What does that really mean? That's what this is what that data can start to help us understand.
fantastic. Okay, that's going to be really interesting. I look forward to talking to you about those two. And great to be working on this project. We'd be really excited about sharing it with everyone. Thanks, Lisa, and we'll
No
talk again
problems.
soon.
Speak soon. Thanks, Mike.